All right, let's just dive right into the vibrant, totally chaotic, and honestly incredibly relatable world of middle school theater. Today, we're jumping into the opening moments of Raina Telgemeier's massively popular graphic novel, Drama. If you've ever been part of a school play, or let's be real, if you've just survived the emotional roller coaster that is middle school, you are going to find a whole lot to love here. So get comfortable because we're going to use some fantastic visuals straight from the book to guide this explainer. Look at how quickly we get thrown into the atmosphere here. You've got this excited crowd bustling through the theater doors, handing over tickets, just buzzing with energy. It immediately sets the literal stage for the whole story. You can practically hear the low murmur of the audience and feel that pre-show electricity in the air. It's the perfect way to welcome us to the show before we even meet our main characters. And I absolutely love this detail. Instead of your standard, boring title page, we get these incredibly clever ticket stubs. If you look closely, the stubs are actually introducing the creators. We've got Raina Telgemeier listed as the presenter and author, alongside Guri Hiru handling the colors. By formatting the credits as admission tickets to the mezzanine section, it pulls you right into the theatrical experience from page 1. You aren't just reading a book, you're taking your seat for a performance. Just a quick look at the publication details before we move on. Drama was written and illustrated by Raina Telgemeier and published back in 2012 by Graphics, an imprint of Scholastic. Okay, let's get into it. So, what are we actually dealing with here? Well, the Library of Congress summary hits the nail on the head. It says our main character, Callie, rides an emotional roller coaster while serving on the stage crew for a middle school production. And that's the core of it, right? It's a dual-layered setup. On one hand, you've got the literal stage crew work, building sets, managing props, just trying to keep the show running. On the other hand, you have the messy, off-stage emotional drama. Relationships starting, ending, and getting incredibly complicated. Because as anyone who has been through middle school knows, the real performance usually happens when the adults aren't looking. And you can really feel that anticipation building visually. We've got this grand shot of the conductor standing over the orchestra pit, baton raised, ready to go. The section is literally called Overture. It's such a brilliant way to mimic the rising tension of a real-life theater experience. The musicians are tuning up, the heavy red curtain is drawn closed, and everyone is just holding their breath waiting for that downbeat. And just like that, the metaphorical curtain rises on our story. Act 1, Backstage Fiascos. This is where we see firsthand that being on the stage crew is no joke. We meet Callie and her fellow crew member Matt, and they are already stressing about a massive disaster from the previous year. Through this really tense back and forth, Callie reminds Matt that he literally bumped into a stagehand during a show. Matt tries to brush it off, saying he didn't give the guy a concussion or anything, but Callie is not letting him off the hook that easily. Because as she points out right here, and broke the spotlights bold. Those are expensive. Notice how Spotlight's bulb is bolded for emphasis. This wasn't just a minor slip-up. These are middle school kids dealing with professional, costly equipment. That broken bulb is basically a giant, glowing reminder of exactly what's at stake backstage when things go wrong. Act 2, Real-Life Drama. And man, it really does not take long for the story to pivot from technical stage problems to some serious offstage interpersonal chaos. Enter Greg. He just walks right up and drops this line, "I want to talk to her alone," and he completely yanks Callie away from her crew duties. Matt is left standing there, just totally annoyed, muttering about having to walk home by himself. In a matter of seconds, the theatrical crisis is put on pause, and the middle school social drama completely takes over. So Greg drags Callie to the park for serious talk. Just watch Callie's face across the sequence. She starts off looking cheerful and attentive, but as Greg talks, her expression just morphs. She goes from concerned to totally stunned to looking up in pure disbelief. It's brilliant because the artist uses these completely silent moments to make us feel the absolute weight of what Greg is dropping on her. So what's the big news? Well, Greg confesses that his girlfriend Bonnie broke up with him. Callie is totally blindsided, but the kicker here is Greg's confusion. He honestly has no idea why she did it. He even tries to defend himself by pointing out that he went to her, quote, lame dance recitals. It is just peak middle school logic, right? He really thought just showing up to something he clearly hated was enough to keep the relationship afloat. And you can hear the desperation when he says, "I thought she was happy. I never." He is completely lost, super vulnerable, and just struggling to process the sudden rejection. Meanwhile, Callie is just glued to that park bench, completely overwhelmed by this massive emotional data dump from her friend. But then, right in the middle of Greg pouring his heart out, the moment is completely shattered. Out of nowhere, Callie just yells, "What was that for?" There's this abrupt, unseen physical interaction that cuts Greg off mid-sentence. Something happens off-panel that snaps Callie right out of her quiet shock into absolute vocal outrage. Which leaves us right here, staring at a massive cliffhanger. What on earth just happened to prompt that reaction from Callie? It really makes you wonder, what's actually harder to manage, the literal mechanics of a stage production or the totally unpredictable chaos of middle school friendships? To find out what goes down on that park bench, you'll just have to dive into the graphic novel for yourself. Thanks for hanging out with us for this explainer.